Hello, beautiful and magnificent beings. Welcome to Energy and Light Awakening. I'm so excited to share this video with you. I've been trying to get this video put together for about a month or two now. I was going to break it up into 3, but I decided it's better just to put it together as a whole. So today we're going to be talking about Dolores Cannon. And I first discovered her about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I found her work extremely interesting and fascinating, but I had forgotten about her until recently, and it was a month or two ago when the information came to me to create this, or I was guided. As many of you know, the videos I create, I get the information through my morning meditations. If you're not familiar with Dolores Cannon, she was a hypnotherapist in the 60s. And just a little bit about her before we get to the 3 waves of volunteers. She said at the time, people who were in that line of work basically did it to help people that were, if they had bad habits, like they wanted to stop smoking or overeating or something like that. And there was nothing really going on or out there at the time about past life regression or reincarnation or anything like that. So she kind of discovered this work, or as she likes to say, was it really a mistake or a coincidence? She was working on someone and somehow took a different route and was able to discover that she could go back in time, as she calls it, and discover people's past lives. So this was very fascinating. And she started working on many patients or clients, and she said, and this is over time, over hundreds, it might even eventually had gotten into over thousands, I'm not sure. But each time she worked on someone new, she discovered there were certain similar stories or patterns. And it's not to say that we're all one of these. I mean, you might very well relate to one of the 3 waves of volunteers. So if this resonates with you at all, I would suggest definitely looking into her work. So she has written over, I don't know, at least 14 books or something like that. She has many other topics besides what we're discussing today. So what she found through many of these people, and again she refers to as 3 waves of volunteers, the beings from other planets, depending on what your beliefs are, she found that a group of them came together because they said that Earth was in distress, Earth needed help. But because of certain rules, they're not allowed to influence. Earth is a free will planet, and they couldn't just come in and make these changes on their own. So they were trying to figure out a way, since they couldn't influence or affect the Earth from the outside, this group of people decided they could come in as humans, even though they would forget everything that they knew. And that's where the 3 waves of volunteers come in. So all of these beings from different planets decided to come in, be incarnated as a human. And so the first wave came in after they had dropped the bomb. And I actually have some notes here because I don't want to forget anything. The first wave she referred to as the pioneers. They came in to lay the foundation for a new consciousness. And these beings, it was the most difficult for, because where they came from, they were not used to such dense energy. They were not used to all of these emotions. They did not have war and violence on their planet. So this was very difficult. Even though from the outside, most of them had regular lives, they had good jobs, they were married, they had families, but many of them were very depressed, they struggled, and they would often say they wanted to go home even though they didn't understand what that meant. And many of them wanted to commit suicide. So this was very difficult for them. And the next wave, the second wave came in, built on the foundation of the first. And she referred to the second wave as antennas. And basically, they would put off a certain type of energy. Like they just come in, they really don't have to do much. They're adding to what the first group already built. And she said as an antenna, they would just put off this energy. They would start changing the frequency. It would lift up the energy around people. And some of the ways that they were described also, and you may very well, this is one that I relate to so well. The second wave was introverted, very sensitive or empathic. Sometimes they were a little uncoordinated or clumsy, very creative also. And not all, but most of them have green eyes, which that in itself is very rare. I think there's like 3% of people in the world with green eyes, which I didn't realize it was that low. And also a very rare blood type. You may be familiar with Rh negative. A lot of these people, and again, not every single one, but many of them have that. And I thought that was interesting. Also, I have a rare blood type, though it's not Rh, it's AB positive. And also they were described as very generous and loving and kind, which often got them into trouble because sometimes people would take advantage. Now, the third wave came in with enhanced DNA. They didn't have to struggle like the first and second wave. They didn't have it quite as difficult, and they're referred to as the hope of the planet. And they tend to be more grounded and practical, and they're also help bringing in this new consciousness into everyday life. They're working to transition into a higher consciousness and spiritual enhancements. And many of these children, it's also said that they're going to help change the education system. A lot of people or teachers refer to them as problems or difficult to work with because the teachers have been programmed a certain way, and these children sometimes presented as having ADHD or ADHD or some type of learning disability. And Dolores Cannon is saying they just need a challenge because they're so much more advanced than the regular children. They get bored easily and they don't particularly care to do or join in to the activities or what's going on. And she also said sometimes they just know things so quickly and right away, and the teachers want to know how they figured that out or how they know this information. And they said they just know, they can't explain it. And so, of course, the teachers, the educators are a little frustrated and they don't know how to deal with them. So they want to put them on medication. And Dolores was saying this is the worst thing you can do. It's just better to give them more of a challenge and to be patient with them. So I just thought this was really fascinating information. And for this to come back to me and ask to be created, this video to be created, it was just, again, like I said, so exciting. And these volunteers, there are also many other helpers she talks about in her book. They're not all the third wave of volunteers. There's other different types of beings that come in that are here helping too. So many people, especially now in this time, and again, I recommend looking up this information. There's so many videos of her on YouTube, which is fantastic because it's easier to access the information. And there's a lot of other people talking about it. The planet, everyone's waking up. So they're really relating to some of this, and they're noticing things are very different about themselves or from the time they were a child, like many of us. And we always felt out of place or like something was wrong with us when in fact, we just couldn't be put into that box that so many try to force us into to reprogram. So there's just a lot of great information in her books that discuss it. I'll put a couple links down below that were some of my favorites. And again, this is just, I'm lightly touching on these topics, so please investigate. And following this, I created 3 Reiki sessions. So if you think you're one of these volunteers, this Reiki session was created specifically for you. So please enjoy, and I hope it helps you on your journey. Highest blessings and infinite gratitude. Sat Nam.